Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. It is exactly 8:33 a.m. News and views on Salam Media, and standing by to talk with us this morning is Ministerial Committee Chairperson, Ambassador Ebrahim Rasool. Assalamu alaikum to you. Welcome to the program. Ambassador, can you hear me? Okay, his picture seems to have frozen. We've lost connection. Let's take a short ad break and we'll be back with you in a minute or two.
Creates sustainable incomes for local farmers, brings the practice of sacrifice to the villages, and shares the spirit of Eid. Sponsor in South Africa for 2,750 Rand. In Africa for 1,750 Rand. In Afghanistan, Palestine, or many other countries around the world. Donate online at africamuslimsagency.co.za. Africa Muslims Agency, empowering, educating, inspiring.
Online schooling? Why not? Kurtuba Online Academy is the leading global online Islamic school from grade R to matric, offering South African caps and international syllabus. And it doesn't stop there. We also offer online madrasa for every grade. For more information, visit www.kurtubaonline.co.za. Kurtuba Online Academy, the leading global online Islamic school.
Kids these days are smart, and when you're competing for their attention against their smartphones, you need to make smart choices, like using Sunfoil triple refined pure sunflower oil in every meal you make. It's naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether you're cooking, frying, or baking, you get the great tasting results that'll get their attention faster than the latest app. And if that doesn't work, change the Wi-Fi password. Sunfoil. Now we're cooking.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome back, 8:36 a.m. And let's try again. We lost the connectivity there with Ambassador Ebrahim Rasool. He's back again. Assalamu alaikum to you.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Good to be with you, alhamdulillah.
Likewise. Now, when I had a look at this call for written submissions, effective management of Hajj and Umrah from South Africa, this was penned by you and forwarded to all media outlets. I kind of wondered, and it took me back, took me way back to the early days of when Sahuk was formed. And we do know that we had lots of issues, lots of teething issues at that point in time, lots of complaints, both from the public and from the tour operators themselves. But I then kind of figured that things have settled down and Sahuk are truly performing as they should. They are delivering the services for which they've been mandated to do. Why has this come up once again? What are the problems that are being picked up that this issue needs to be relooked?
No, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. No, thank you very much for your question. You are right. I mean, it almost 28 years ago that Sahuk was formed in 1995. It was formed with enormous optimism that something will be done about all the issues relating to the Hajj and the Umrah, but mostly to the Hajj. And I think that as we approach the 30th year of the establishment of Sahuk, we are having a recurrence of complaints about how the Hajj is operated, and it's a variety of complaints that people have had. But I think that what we're calling it is a review that is being done by the Ministerial Committee on the efficient management of Hajj and Umrah in order to see what is working, what is not working, what is the basis of the complaints that may be out in the public domain, what can be improved, and how do we move forward. So we are seeing it essentially as a review because we need to discuss a few things. One, does government's hands-off role and abdicating it to Sahuk, is that still important, or is there a jurisdictional role for Sahuk? The second one is that there are impending changes in the way in which the Hajj is administered, and particularly with e-Hajj and so forth. So we need to see whether we will be ready for that eventuality. Thirdly, I think we have rising costs in Hajj, which creates a scarcity, and therefore we need to see what financial arrangements can be made to bring down the costs. Fourthly, I think that we also need to make sure that we can address the issue of the quota, and the quota can only be addressed if there is some kind of demographic research that is done about the number of Muslims, the distribution of Muslims, and how the Muslim community has not only grown but diversified so that no one is left behind. So all in all, I think we're seeing this as a review, and we will not fix what is not broken, but I think that we will need to get possibly a legal framework that is good 30 years later, inshallah.
I mean, you've touched on all of the most pertinent issues around Hajj and Sahuk as well, obviously. I'm going to come to costs in a minute or two, but let's go to e-Hajj. We know that we're hearing from the Muslim community in the UK and elsewhere in the Western world. It seems that they are really battling with the system. People have been paying upfront, and they also have indicated that costs have risen astronomically. So it's not, the cost issue is not only unique to us here in South Africa, and that does need to be truly investigated. It could be a global issue. It could be rising costs all around the world, but let's look at that as well. But the issue around e-Hajj, we are hearing huge complaints from the UK especially. I'm kind of wondering, is that going to be workable for us? And does e-Hajj, if that is introduced in South Africa, does that mean the doing away with Sahuk completely? Because in my mind, they are fulfilling quite an important role as far as Hajj and Umrah is concerned.
So I think that the e-Hajj is indeed a problem. I've just returned from the USA, where amongst others, I have met with representatives from the Muslim community. I have a month ago engaged with the Muslim Council of Britain. And indeed, you are right, they are facing enormous problems with the e-Hajj, but also because their quotas have gone from almost unlimited, 20,000 in the UK to 3,000. 30,000 in the USA to 4,000. So they're facing a number of challenges. And we want to make sure that we don't fall into the same problem, especially given the situation in South Africa, where not everyone will be familiar with the possibilities of e-Hajj. So I want to say that some of the members of the committee will be engaging in with the Saudi authorities in the coming 2 weeks. And we will be looking at the issue of the e-Hajj, but we also there very clearly making clear to them that that we may need an assisted form of Hajj from South Africa, and not completely switch to an operator-driven one with e-Hajj as the condition for going on Hajj. So I think these are the things that we are trying to anticipate, and that's why the review becomes absolutely crucial as we move forward.
And obviously, when you talk about an assisted e-Hajj program for us here in South Africa, that does, to me, indicate that there's still a role that Sahuk would be able to play. They can still, work in that assistive role for us here in South Africa. That being said, I'm kind of wondering, for a long, long time, I'm sure you're aware of it as well, there is an organization that is called Hajj Watch that have always tried to look out for the for the welfare of the Hujjaj here in South Africa. And they've always been at loggerheads with Sahuk regarding the complaints that they've come up with. What have you heard from them up to now regarding this review? They will be on board, I hope.
Without being premature in disclosing what we have heard, I want to say that the first phase of the Ministerial Committee's work has involved meeting with Sahuk, meeting with the ulama, meeting with the Saudi embassy, meeting with the Samtoa, as well as meeting with Hajj Watch. So we have done a survey with everyone. I think sometimes they do think amongst themselves that they are far away from each other, whereas in fact, us having listened to everyone, people are closer than they think. And secondly, I think we've received valuable input from them. So no one disputes the need for a body. They just need to know what's the legal foundation of that body, what's the role of government, what are the ways in which we can streamline the problem areas and maximize the strengths. And so I think we are going to come out of our meetings with the Saudi authorities in the next 2 weeks. We are going to come out there with better ideas about also what the Saudis expect and what the system is shifting to, so that we can align things as we move forward. We are also going to be meeting with the Commission on Cultural, Religious and Linguistic Affairs to understand what is the intersection between the role of government and the role of a religious community like the Muslim community. And inshallah, that will all come together as we move forward. So we have engaged the key role players. We will also, and this call for submissions that we have, for written submissions that we have put out, is a way for other interested bodies and the public to tell us exactly what they think about all the issues that I've been mentioning so far in this interview.
There have been perceptions in the past, but we do know when we talk about the issue around costs, the perception in the past was that the operators, the Hajj operators, were making large profits out of the Hajj and Umrah season. What have you, come across regarding that issue? Will that be addressed if that is in fact if that is in fact what is happening? Bearing in mind that everybody is in the business of making business, and they do need to make, I should say, a marginal or an affordable profit, so to speak. They're not going to be doing it just for the goodness of whatever, the community. Everybody needs to put food on the table. But there is that very strong allegation against the operators. Would you concur with that? Or are your investigations still ongoing?
Look, we'd like to really delve into the finances of the Hajj. At this point, it appears that we're probably dealing with a 250 to 300 million rand industry in South Africa alone, given the number of Hujjaj that go and the cost per Haji that goes. But what the margin of profit is, what is a choice by the Hujjaj in terms of where they want to stay, the proximity to the Haramain, etc., etc. I think we need to work out that, and we're gathering a team of financial experts that can help us, but it's premature to say that someone is making a killing in a sense of profits. But we are very clear that part of what we need to do is to make the Hajj affordable for very ordinary people. Otherwise, the Hajj may turn out to be an elite experience by those who can afford it, whereas I think we want everyone who is called to be able to afford it. And whether that is by driving down the cost, whether that is by putting together an institution that can help manage the money once a prospective Hujjaj intends and makes niyyah to go on Hajj. I think those are the ways in which we want to manage the situation rather than prejudge the situation and give early blame. The Ministerial Committee is also very clear that we want evidence-based complaints and not necessarily allegation-based complaints that must come to us so that we can make proper recommendations to the minister.
Perfectly good sense to me. Let's go back to the costs. We do know a couple of years ago, an organization was formed, Khidmatul Awam, and they claimed that they would make Hajj affordable. I had the privilege of going with them 9 years ago on my Hajj, and it was an absolutely beautiful experience. And it talks directly at one of the comments you made in the conversation, and that is proximity to the harams, to the mosques, wanting to live in luxurious accommodation, wanting to have hassle-free travel to and from your destinations in the Holy Lands, etc. So we as South Africans, if those are our expectations, I guess the bottom line is that you're going to have to pay for that, isn't it? Resulting in Khidmatul Awam becoming just like any other tour operator, whereas they did promise affordable Hajj. That is no longer the case because of our expectations and our demands as South African Hujjaj.
Look, as invited by the Minister of Hajj and Umrah in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, we will be going particularly to be on the ground to experience that for ourselves, because I think we need to understand what is the proximity to the Haramain, particularly in the city of Mecca, and how far is Azizia from it, what are the traffic conditions that exist, what is the infrastructure that can be set up in terms of a shuttle service every hour at least to the Haram, so that no one feels dislocated from the Haram, whether for waqt or whether just for ordinary worship and so forth. So I think we want to understand that for ourselves before we make comments about the proximity issue, because at this point everyone's heart wants to be in close proximity, in walking distance to the Haram, but that may mean that you pay 120, 150,000 rand for a Hujjaj, and what would be the significant reduction in costs if one were, for example, to stay in Azizia with a good shuttle service. So I think that the committee, as the guests of the Consul General in Jeddah, would be particularly looking at those aspects in order to base our recommendations to Minister Naledi Pandor on good, real conditions and not on speculative theory about what can work. So we must match the hearts of the Hujjaj with the pockets of the poorest Hujjaj that may want to go, inshallah.
Absolutely. You are asking for a critical input. When is the closing off for these inputs? The closing date for the inputs to reach you, and then how soon can we as the general public receive progress reports regarding this matter?
So the closing date has deliberately been set as the 31st of July 2023, when written submissions must be able to come in, inshallah. We have made it the 31st of July so that even Hujjaj who are currently on Hajj may come back and share those experiences with us. And they must please write to us at hajcom@dirco.gavza, HAJJCOMM at dirco, dirco.gov.za. So that's really what we want to invite people to come to. I think we will be able to give the public a glimpse into our work once we schedule the public hearings that we will have across the country, inshallah, which would be late in July, and to coincide more or less with the 31st of July 2023.
Makes perfectly good sense to me. Bilal Adamji has just posted something on Facebook. He says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Our organization, United Council of South African Hujjaj, have done this already. We have met with DIRCO, but we're still waiting for DIRCO to get back to us. Your thoughts, Ambassador?
I think I would request that organization and that brother, inshallah, to write to us a submission that could be of help to us. And secondly, in writing to us, make themselves available for a slot at a public hearing in which a spokesperson could present this view to us. And based on either the verbal input or the written submission, we may be very happy as a committee to have someone kind of debrief them about what their experience, what they believe we should recommend, in order for us to make the best recommendation for us being able to efficiently manage the Hajj and Umrah going into the future, inshallah.
You've given me a date of 31st of July when, inshallah, the returning Hujjaj would also be able to give you input as to the current year's experiences in the Holy Lands. How soon will you be able to make your findings public and give us some sort of a firm decision going forward as to Hajj and Umrah in the future, immediate and long-term future?
So it is our intention, inshallah, that we will provide the minister with our report and our recommendations by the end of August, inshallah, for her to be able to make sense, go through it, and decide what needs to be done. If, of course, one of our recommendations will be to write into law the existence of a Hajj, a regulatory body, then it may take a little bit longer to formulate that law, but we are trying to write that kind of legal draft, if it's necessary, alongside the report so that it shortens the time. But we would want the minister to consider that from September onwards, and then to make known to the public what she accepts, what she doesn't accept, and then to start the implementation so that Hajj 2024 could be one that could be based on this new set of recommendations, inshallah.
Amin, Amin, Thumma Amin. Ambassador Ebrahim Rasool, shukran very much for being with us on the show this morning. We look forward to the recommendations and whatever else is going to be implemented going forward for the ease of the Umrah and Hujjaj pilgrims going forward. I think this sounds like it is long overdue, so we look forward to that. Thank you for your time and your input.
Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Ameen, Ameen. And thank you indeed, Bilal Adamji, for your post on Facebook as well. And it is exactly 8:55 News and Views on Salam Media. Next, we're going to be talking to community leader Zubair Patel, all their woes regarding dry taps in Ridgeway, south of Johannesburg. Please stay with us.